We catch up with Mr. Perfect backstage before his match. He's asked about his thoughts on Tito Santana's challenge earlier tonight. He turns, looking annoyed, and says, "Who? Oh, that guy I already beat? Easily? I mean, you watched that match. I didn't even break a sweat. Look, I'm a fighting champion and all that, so there's a long list of names that want to have the privilege of getting in the ring with Mr. Perfect. He's gonna have to go to the back of the line and earn his shot." Bobby the Brain Heenan jumps on the mic and says, "Mr. Perfect will go down as the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. You can bet the house on that one. Tonight, Mr. Perfect is gonna easily take care of that snake in the grass, Jake Roberts. But we're fair around here. So this is what we're gonna do. Next week, Tito Santana can start earning his title shot. If he has the guts to take on some of the names on our little list here, and if he survives and somehow wins all his matches, he can have his little title shot rematch. Not that he has any chance of winning against Mr. Perfect. Now get out of our way. We have a match to win, and it's going to be absolute perfection." They both laugh confidently as Mr. Perfect gets back to his warm-up session on the punching bag. Back on WCW Saturday night, we have a one-on-one matchup between members of the two teams that will face off for the World Tag Team titles at Capital Combat. Butch Reed is going to take on Scott Steiner. They lock up, but neither guy gives any ground. Reed picks up Scott onto his shoulders, but Steiner breaks loose and delivers a pump handle slam. Scott follows it up with a belly-to-belly overhead suplex. Then he twists Reed's neck to deliver a blow, but Reed grabs Scott's leg and makes him lose his balance. He delivers a hard right hand and works Scott into the corner before climbing on the middle rope and pounding on poor Scott's head like a drum. Scott collapses to the mat, and Butch Reed is showing why they call him the Hacksaw. He whips Steiner into the corner again, and Scott takes a bad bump to the lower back, again collapsing to the mat. Both guys get a running start at each other, and it's Steiner who gets the better of the collision. He goes to grab the arm, but Reed kicks Steiner in the face. He picks Scott off the mat and absolutely nails him with a hard right. Steiner hits the mat again and rolls out of the ring to catch his breath. Reed goes into the corner to discuss after-match dinner plans with Ron Simmons, and this gives Steiner time to get back into the ring and deliver an atomic drop. They lock up again and Scott grabs a leg, but instead of a leg drag takedown, he nails Reed with an elbow. The crowd is fired up, so Scott climbs up on the second rope and soaks in the cheers. Does this ever end well? Definitely not this time, as Reed gets up and hits Steiner in the lower back. He then grabs both arms and delivers a headbutt again, targeting the back area. He suplexes Steiner, sending him clear across the ring, and struts coolly around the ring. The guys lock up again and Scott delivers a low kick. He picks up Reed, walks him over to the corner turnbuckle, and drops him face first. Steiner goes for the pin on the dazed Reed, but only gets a 2 count. Then Reed rolls out of the ring to regroup, but Scott follows him out. Running to get some steam as he delivers a one-handed face plant that's gotta hurt. He throws Reed back in the ring, and Reed seems to be struggling to get up. Scott climbs to the top rope, looking to deliver an elbow drop, but Reed gets out of the way at the last second. They each counter each other's suplex attempts, and Reed finally does a low hip toss, sending the future Big Papa Pump to the mat. He bounces off the ropes and hits a pretty hard clothesline to set Steiner right back to the mat. He goes right back to the ropes and again hits a hard clothesline. Scott manages to trip Reed after that, and let's see if he can stop the momentum. He sets Reed up for a belly-to-back suplex and then poses for the crowd. The gun show is definitely in town, ladies. Reed gets to his feet and clobbers Steiner with the right hand. He bounces off the near rope and hits Steiner with a stiff elbow drop. Reed picks him up and they lock up again, but Steiner hits a low kick that sends Reed into the ropes. Then check out this nice tilt-a-whirl slam from Steiner. With Reed face first on the ground, Scott takes the opportunity to get some punches to the face. Scott's pumped and so is the crowd. Goes off the ropes for a clothesline, but Reed ducks it and hits a clothesline of his own. You really feel it when these two guys hit the clotheslines, no doubt about that. Reed picks up Steiner off the mat, sends him flying off the top rope. He really gets some air here, going all the way down to the outside mat. Reed gets on the apron and hits a senton bomb, and this looks like it really knocked the wind out of Steiner. Reed continues the attack and then tosses Steiner hard onto the guardrail. The fight spills out into the entranceway as neither guy is backing down. They keep going further down the entranceway and the crowd is loving the brutality here. Reed tosses Steiner to the ground and sets up and delivers a suplex right onto the unprotected carpet. The ref's up to an 8 count already, but the brawl continues on the outside. Reed grabs Steiner and delivers a sit-down powerbomb again on the carpeted entranceway. The referee gets to the 10 count and we have a double count out. The crowd doesn't seem to mind the final draw decision here as tensions get kicked up a notch for the tag team title showdown at Capital Combat. Next on WWF Superstars, we have the Big Boss Man versus Ravishing Rick Rude. Bobby the Brain Heenan says Rude has his eye on World Heavyweight Champion The Ultimate Warrior and doesn't know why he has to waste his time on the Big Boss Man. Rude doesn't wait for Boss Man's entrance to finish, instead sliding into the ring and attacking him before the bell sounds. He gets a few jabs in, then hits a hard elbow and continues with the barrage and hits a DDT. This is not looking good for the Big Boss Man. He gets sent into the corner and then gets absolutely clobbered by a clothesline from behind. The Ravishing One takes a sec to let the ladies admire his abs, then continues his attack with a hard punch to the gut, followed by a Russian leg sweep. Bossman finally gets some offense in, scooping up Roode and flinging him into the corner turnbuckle and then onto the mat. He goes off the ropes and hits a big splash, and then he continues his offense with a headbutt that leaves Rick Rude writhing in pain on the mat. Roode remembers who he is and puts a stop to this nonsense, sending Bossman over the ropes. Bossman eventually climbs back in, and the two men have a few words before the punches start flying again. Bossman scoops Roode up on his shoulders, but Roode manages to break free and hits Bossman with an elbow straight to the face. He sends Bossman towards and over the top rope, and this time he's taking the fight to him on the outside. He hits a senton off the apron and then sends Bossman crashing into the guardrail. He leaves Bossman laying in a pool of his own tears on the floor and climbs back onto the ring. He stands in the middle turnbuckle so the housewives in the back row can get a good look at those abs while Bossman slowly crawls back into the ring. Bossman slowly walks over in a daze and gets nailed by a hard strike from the middle rope. Roode picks up Bossman, but Bossman blocks a punch to the gut and sends Roode staggering with a hard headbutt. He picks up Roode and drops his neck first on the top rope. He looks to continue the attack, but Roode counters, sending Bossman over the rope, and he lands hard on the outside mat. He lays there for a while contemplating a career change, then has some choice words for Bobby the Brain Heenan. On his way back into the ring, he scoops up and slams Rick Rude onto the mat, and bounces off the ropes and hits another big splash. Then check this out. He just tosses Roode by the leg. Who does this guy think he is? He punches Roode in the abs, which hurts the ladies more than it does Roode, but then connects with a hard elbow, and that sends Roode to the ground. Rick Rude's had enough and kicks Bossman in the face. He picks up Bossman off the mat and sets him up for a pile driver. That connects, and Roode picks up Bossman again, looking to hit the Rude Awakening, which is basically a really fancy neckbreaker. Bossman is able to power out of the hold and hits a plain old state-issued neckbreaker. He stomps on him a few times and goes for the pin, but only gets a 2 count. He's tired of the violence, so he goes up for a bear hug, but Roode elbows him in the face. He then goes off the ropes and absolutely levels Bossman with a clothesline. Bossman is out cold. Roode goes for the pin, gets a 3 count, and secures the win. He gives the ladies watching at home one more good look at the abs, and that wraps up this match. Next up, we have a promo segment. Ric Flair comes out to the ring, and shockingly, he doesn't have any of the 4 horsemen with him, despite them all being in the building tonight. He gets in the ring and the crowd is taunting him pretty loudly. He says, "Listen here, you low-class scum. Show some respect to the greatest champion of all time. Lex Luger has been in the business for 3 minutes. Compared to my pedigree and reputation, he thinks he has any right to call me out?" The crowd chants, "Rick is scared. Rick is scared." And Flair, looking annoyed, tells them, "Shut their mouths and wipe the grease stains off their fat chins." But just then, Lex Luger's music hits and out comes Lex. Crowd pops huge, and it's plain to see that they're fully behind him in this feud with Flair. Lex says, "You and me have a date with destiny at Capital Combat, but every time I have you beat, your lackeys step in, and that's the only reason you still have that championship belt. For our match at Capital Combat, I challenge you to step inside a steel cage so they can't save you from the beating you have coming to you. You say if you want to be the man, you have to beat the man. Well, are you man enough to step inside the cage with the total package?" Flair looks around as the crowd continues their taunting. Lex says, "You know it, and I know it. Your title reign is coming to an end at Capital Combat." Lex says, "You do some digging, and then you let me know if you have the man bits to lock yourself in that cage with me. Know where to run, know when to save you, and then take your beating like a man." Flair looks irate and says, "On my worst day, I've beaten guys with twice the talent Lex Luger has. I've beaten every brainless musclehead who's tried to make a name for himself by picking a fight with me. I'm the man, and everyone in this whole industry knows it. I'll beat him in a ring, in a cage, in his front yard, in front of his mama. It doesn't matter. You want a cage match? You got it, Luger. Woo!" So it's official. The title match between Luger and Flair at Capital Combat will be inside a fully enclosed cage. The crowd is buzzing with excitement. Pretty good promo segment here from Luger and Flair. Road Warrior Animal vs. Arn Anderson is up next, and this one's for the TV title belt. Anderson's been the champion since winning the belt from the Great Muta back in January. Anderson, like usual, looks cool, collected, and dangerous, but Animal is not someone he wants to take lightly. The match starts off with Animal rushing to get an early attack, but Anderson dodges out of the way and lands some well-placed punches to the side of the rib and the face, then slams Animal's back of the head into the ground. Animal gets in an elbow to the stomach, and Anderson looks like he got the wind knocked out of him. He takes a tactical stance and again dodges Animal's attack. Arn grabs Animal's wrist, bends it backward awkwardly, and uses Animal's own weight as leverage. He keeps the hold on the wrist and delivers a nice suplex. Animal may be big and strong, but Anderson is a master inside the ring. Animal gets up, frustrated, and punches Anderson square in the face, and then he sends him back into the ropes and delivers a hard elbow that sends Anderson crashing to the mat. He feels bad, so they hug it out, but he seems to be squeezing the life out of Anderson. That seems kinda odd. Anderson looks like he's about to pass out, but he gives Animal a few elbows and a belt clap to get out of the barrel. He goes off the ropes and punches Animal in the stomach, Then he performs a neck snap takedown and gives Animal a pivoting stomp to the face. It's gotta leave him off. Animal charges at him in a rage, but Arn coolly dodges, countering with the punch to the stomach and then the suplex that almost sends Animal over the ropes. Animal is dazed, so Arn goes for the small package pin. The referee is out of position, so it's only a 1 count. Dude, you have one job. Arn gives the ref a menacing look, and this allows Animal to send him into the corner. Animal follows him to the corner, hitting a clothesline, and then grabs Anderson's arm and wraps it around the rope. The ref tells him to break the hold, and Anderson sneaks in an elbow as Animal breaks the hold. Anderson climbs to the second rope and hits Animal with the double axe handle smash. Animal staggers back as Anderson calmly walks over and casually delivers an eye gouge. Animal blindly looks to the ropes for balance, and Anderson absolutely nails him with the clothesline that sends Animal over the ropes to the outside. Anderson takes a breather while Animal gets to his feet, climbing back into the ring. I just love the confidence that Arn is working this match with. You can tell he's been in the ring too many times to count. Animal reverses the Irish whip and hits Anderson with a hard shoulder block that makes Anderson roll out of the ring, and it makes me rethink what I just said about Anderson's confidence. He thinks about heading back to the locker room, but then remembers who the hell he is and slides back into the ring with purpose. He unleashes some well-placed punches, leaving Animal rocked, then he whips Animal into and over the ropes. Animal manages to hold on and lands on the apron, so Anderson charges into him, sending crashing into the outside mat. He doesn't give Animal a chance to recover this time. Instead, he goes out to continue the fight on the outside. He stomps him a few times and picks him up and sends him crashing to the guardrail, and the rail almost topples over. He leaves Animal in a heap on the floor and climbs back in the ring. If Animal were smart, he'd just sit the rest of this one out, but he climbs back into the ring, just beating the referee's count. Anderson is waiting for him on the second rope, and Animal walks right into another axe handle smash. Anderson picks him up, keeps it coming with the punches. Animal finally manages to grab a hold of Anderson. He sends him into the ropes and out of nowhere absolutely cracks Anderson with a flying shoulder tackle. Arn looks dazed as the ref starts his count. Anderson manages to kick out at 2, but this was way too close for comfort. Animal has the momentum now, pounding his fist into the top of Anderson's head and then showing off his physique to the crowd, who are firmly cheering for Animal in this one. Arn catches his breath and punches his way back to his feet. He sends Animal into the corner and goes for a clothesline, but Animal gets his feet up and Arn is struggling to stay on his feet. Animal sends Anderson into the ropes and then delivers a vicious power slam. We might have a new TV champ here. Arn barely kicks out just before 3, but it's looking grim for him. Animal looks to continue his attack, but Anderson notices the ref's got a bad angle, so he gives Animal a low blow kick to swing the momentum. Anderson gives Animal a hard back elbow, then continues his attack in the corner. He's getting pretty vicious with these corner attacks. Looks like Animal pissed off the enforcer. Anderson stomps Animal in the back, and then he picks him up and delivers a hard spine buster. Animal is definitely rocked here, so there's only one thing left to do. Anderson hooks the neck, sets him up, and delivers his devastating signature DDT. Anderson makes the pin, the referee starts the count, we get a 3, and Anderson is still the television champion. Back over to WWF Superstars, and we hear the music. The crowd starts losing their minds, little Hulksters everywhere take their vitamins, and Hulk Hogan comes out to the stage. He's here to confront the mouth from the south, Jimmy Hart. Hart's new guy, Earthquake's been beating up on jobbers and friends of the Hulkster, so Hogan's here to put an end to the devastation. He demands that Earthquake get out to the stage or Hart's gonna take the beating meant for Earthquake. Right on cue, Earthquake comes out of nowhere and assaults Hogan with a steel chair. Jimmy Hart points and laughs, and I sorta wish Hogan would have at least smacked him around once. But instead, he's pretty much motionless on the mat. Earthquake unleashes 400 plus pounds of devastation on Hogan's chest, and yep, I think he just broke Hulkamania. He laughs as kids' dreams shatter, and then he does it again. Then one last time to drive the point home. He walks off, leaving Hogan motionless on the stage. The crowd is in absolute disbelief at what just happened. I don't think we're gonna see Hogan in the ring for a while, brother. Main event time for WCW Saturday night, and we have a matchup between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Four Horsemen member Barry Windam, who's accompanied by Ric Flair. If you remember, last week Dragon faced off against Sid and Windam nailed him with a steel chair on the outside of the ring, so there's already bad blood between the two. The action starts off fast with the guys locking up and Windam throwing a hard right. It struck me how much taller Windam is than Steamboat, and I had to look it up, and he's listed at 6'6", but some sources claim he's only 6'3". Steamboat gets thrown into the ropes and Windam ducks down on the rebound. He doesn't wait for the Dragon to get back to him, instead getting a full head of steam and annihilating him with the clothesline. Steamboat eventually gets up, he sends Windam over the top rope, but he lands on the apron. Steamboat swings, but it gets blocked and Windam is the one that lands the punch. Barry gets back in the ring, and just check out this right hand. It sends Steamboat right into the ground. Windam's like, "Is this all you got?" So Steamboat whips him into the ropes and Barry flies right over, making it all the way to the floor this time. The Dragon follows him out, and I'm not sure that was a great idea as he gets nailed by another hard clothesline. This looks absolutely phenomenal. Barry Windham gets into the ring as Steamboat staggers around on the outside trying to figure out which way the ring went. Flair is such a nice guy that he gives Steamboat a guide tour back to the ring. Windham sends him into the corner and follows it up with a body splash as Steamboat drops to his knees and then just falls to the mat. Windham eases up as he shouts over at Flair that Steamboat is a joke, and of course this gives the Dragon time to recover and go on the attack. He pounds Windham to the ground and then hits him with a hard right knee to the gut. He picks up Barry and looks to whip him over the rope again, but Barry counters it nicely and ends up delivering a hard foot to the face. The kick sends Steamboat back into the corner, and Windham wails on him until Steamboat can't stand anymore. Someone throw in the damn towel! Windham chokes Steamboat in the corner, and then somehow the Dragon grabs the foot, gets to his feet as Windham implores him to take it easy and sends him face first into the mat. The Dragon scoops up all 6'6" foot of Windham, gets him over to the corner, and drops him face first onto the turnbuckle. He follows up with a dropping chop to the face, and Windham needs a timeout. Steamboat takes the opportunity to fire up the crowd, and it's cool to see how much heat the Horsemen generated. The crowd tonight feels electric. Steamboat finally goes out after Windham, but that's just what he wanted, and he immediately delivers a back suplex. He climbs to the apron as Steamboat slowly gets up, just in time for a double axe handle straight to the face. Back in the ring, we get a little back and forth between the guys before Steamboat sends Windham to the corner and follows it up with a nice looking monkey flip. Windham's taking these moves so well, and is a drastic difference between this match and last week's match versus Sid. Steamboat walks Barry to the ropes, but Windham ducks down, and it's Steamboat who ends up flying over the ropes to the outside mat. Windham slides right out after him, and his demeanor gets way more aggressive. He rolls Steamboat back in the ring and goes on the attack with an array of stomps and kicks. He picks Steamboat up and delivers a really nice snap suplex. I love how crisp the delivery is on this one. He goes for the cover but surprisingly only gets a 1 count, and this seems to just piss him off more. He grabs Steamboat and gives him another snap suplex, then immediately picks him up again, and it just unleashes punch after punch. Steamboat tries to get in a shot, but Windham won't let him. Steamboat flings himself at Windham and finally breaks up the onslaught with a crossbody block. Steamboat wrenches the arm of Windham and then hooks both arms as he drives Barry's face right into the mat without anything to break the fall. Windham is counting stars as Steamboat goes for the pin. Flair jumps up onto the apron, and the ref is contractually obligated to see what Flair wants to order for dinner time. Once that's taken care of, he remembers there's a match going on, and he makes the count, but Windham is done counting stars and kicks out at 2. Undeterred, Steamboat looks to continue his offense, but Windham punches him in the stomach. He goes for a clothesline, but he must be seen double because he misses and collapses to the mat. Steamboat picks him up and gets him all the way up and over for the suplex. Windham gets up and tries to fight back, but Steamboat hip tosses him right back to the mat. The referee isn't paying attention, and Windham sneaks in a low blow, which finally slows down the Dragon's attack. He scoop slams him into the mat and then sends Steamboat into the corner and goes right for the corner clothesline. Windham climbs to the top rope and dives off for an elbow drop. Steamboat isn't ready to be a splat on the mat though and moves out of the way at the last second. Flair gets Steamboat attention, so Windham tries to get another cheap shot in from behind. Steamboat sees it coming, narrowly dodging, and karate chops Windham like he was an ice block. He's not done though. We see alternating chops, capped by a double hand thrust to the chest. Windham's looking dazed. Steamboat then bounces off the ropes to deliver the ultimate chop, and Windham is busted wide open. Steamboat works the crowd and then climbs the top rope. He waits as Windham gets to his feet and looks to hit a crowd's body block from the top. Windham's too big and too strong though, and astonishingly catches him midair. He flings him to the mat and then applies a mandible claw, and that is a look of evil on his face. He works Steamboat all the way down to the mat, but Steamboat is eventually able to grab the rope, and Windham is forced to release the hold. He wrenches the arm and flips Barry on the mat. Then he goes right back up to the top rope. Just like last time, Windham manages to catch Steamboat in midair and again flings him onto the mat. What does Steamboat need to do to take this man out? Windham picks up Steamboat and sets him up and delivers a DDT. And he's sure that's enough to win the match. Steamboat kicks out the last second, and now Windham is thinking about what it's going to take to beat the Dragon. This has been a great match and really reminds me just how good these guys were. Windham sets Steamboat up in the tree of woe position, charges in for a knee strike, but Steamboat gets a foot up on the already bloodied face of Windham. Staggered but coherent, Windham dodges and grabs Steamboat and tries to sneak in a pin attempt. Both guys look exhausted, but he only gets a 2 count. Steamboat gets a second, or is it a third win, and goes on the attack again. He suplexes Windham and for a third time climbs the ropes, looking to set Barry up. He finally connects, delivering a super chop, and Windham looks to be out cold. Flair starts yapping again, distracting Steamboat again. These horsemen are just dastardly human beings. Steamboat grabs Windham by the arm, and this little flip move looks really cool. Both guys are totally gassed though, and they both stay on the mat as the ref starts a double count. They make it up before the 10 count, and Windham tackles Steamboat, rolling him up for the pin. Steamboat kicks out again and sends Windham into the ropes, and again we see Flair get on the apron, causing a distraction. A little too many distractions from Flair for my taste, but the match has been excellent nonetheless. Windham rolls up Steamboat for the pin, but again it's a kick out by Steamboat. He picks Windham up and drops him across the top rope, and once again goes for the top rope. The crowd is at a fever pitch at this point as Windham rarely gets to his feet. He hits the crossbody drop from the top rope, but the timekeeper calls for the bell. The time limit is up and it's going to end in a draw. It would have been great to see a clear winner here, but obviously they're trying to build tension across tonight's show for the upcoming pay-per-view. Overall, it's been a pretty solid show for WCW Saturday night. Jake the Snake Roberts is already on his way to the ring and it's main event time for this week's WWF Superstars. This is Mr. Perfect's first televised title defense, but he's been busy on the house shows. Not sure if I'm supposed to be unbiased, but I'm a Mr. Perfect fan and this should be a good one. The two lock up to start the match and nobody gets the upper hand. They go for it again and Robert tries to send Mr. Perfect into the rope, but Mr. Perfect puts a stop to that with a couple of elbows to the stomach. The Snake grimaces and Mr. Perfect looks to end the match quick with a small package pin. Roberts kicks out just before 2 and Perfect beats him to his feet and goes for another grapple. Roberts gets a cheap kick in, but Perfect dodges a grab attempt and punches Roberts square on the jaw. The ref tells Perfect to keep that hand open as Perfect whips Roberts into the ropes and ducks down on the rebound and hits Jake with a well-executed dropkick. That sends him back into the mat. He whips Jake into the corner and takes a hard bump. Perfect turns his back, telling the crowd this isn't worth his time, but Roberts gets to his feet and attacks Perfect from behind. What a coward. He picks Perfect up and drops him across the top rope. Then he goes to work on the leg, twisting around the leg before leg dropping on it. He grabs Perfect by the hair and slams the back of his head into the mat, then drops a knee on his arm. He throws a right, but Perfect's had enough, countering with a punch to the gut. He goes for a crossbody block, but the Snake ate his Hogan brand vitamins this morning and is able to catch Perfect in midair. He gives Perfect a backbreaker and flings him to the mat disrespectfully, then delivers a knee to the side of the face. He picks Mr. Perfect up off the mat, whips him into the ropes, and delivers a hard knee to the stomach. Heenan gets Roberts' attention and I'm pretty sure he's trying to sell Roberts on hiring him as a manager, but this gives Mr. Perfect time to get up. I guess it was a ploy all along. Mr. Perfect hits Roberts with a chop block and then casually stomps on Roberts' face. That's definitely going to leave a mark. He hits him with a hard right and there's a little back and forth, with Perfect getting the better of the exchange. He ends it with a nice drop kick and Roberts has to roll out of the ring to get away from the masterclass. He tries to sneak back in when Perfect turns his back, but it was a perfect setup, and Roberts gets clotheslined right back out of the ring. He lays on the ground for a bit, and he's definitely considering a career change, but he finally gets back into the ring to finish the match. The guys lock up, and Perfect hits him with the forearm before delivering a Russian leg sweep. Mr. Perfect grabs Roberts by the leg, pushes him hard to the ground before dropping his body weight on his leg. He reassures the crowd the match is in the bag before dropping a knee on Roberts' arm. He casually stomps Roberts in the face again and goes for the pin. Roberts kicks out, and Perfect looks mildly annoyed. He picks him up off the mat and performs a standing suplex. Then he goes off the ropes to deliver an elbow, but Roberts sort of rolls out of the way. Looks like Perfect got more mat than man. Roberts looks exhausted, and Perfect leans him against the ropes to deliver a few hard forearm strikes to the lower back. Roberts collapses to the mat, and Perfect takes a moment to allow his fans to shower him with adoration. What a guy. Roberts finally gets up, only to be met with a snap suplex, and it looks nice and crisp. Mr. Perfect goes for a pin attempt, and this time it's a 2 count. I guess Roberts wants a little more ring time. Mr. Perfect snaps Roberts over his shoulder and then does his signature neck snap flip move. This move always looks good when he does it. I mean, seriously, does anybody do that better than Mr. Perfect? He sends Roberts up and over the top rope, outside, and then walks over to Heenan to discuss who should play him in the inevitable blockbuster movie about his life. Robert comes over to see if he can be an extra in the film, but Perfect gives him a pile driver, so pretty sure that's a hard no. He throws him into the steel guardrail, but Roberts manages to duck out of the way and Perfect crashes into the rail himself. Roberts follows up with a bulldog that almost lands on the rail. He sends Perfect a long way to the other guardrail and gets back into the ring. The referee's at a 7 count and there's no real incentive for Perfect to get back into the ring. But you don't become the greatest IC champion ever by losing matches, so he slides back into the ring just before the 10 count. He gives Roberts another hard forearm to the back, then he sends him into the ropes and does a well-executed hip toss before bouncing off the ropes, and this time fully connected on the elbow drop. He whips Roberts into the corner and delivers a monkey flip. He has all the momentum now. Mr. Perfect casually waits for Roberts to crawl to his feet, and I think it's about that time. Perfect hooks the neck, grabs the leg, and delivers the perfect plex. The form is immaculate as the referee makes the count. This one is in the books. Decent match, a little bit of back and forth between these two guys. Perfect retains, and that wraps up this week's episode of Superstars. So that's going to wrap up the matches for this week's show. Make sure you head over to X to vote on who had the better show overall, and make sure you let me know which match was your favorite of this week. Also, some really exciting news. Next week, we'll be highlighting WCW's Capital Combat event, and that marks the first time the series moves over to WWE 2K24. As you know, this series aims to retell a lot of the real-life storylines going on in both WWF and WCW at the beginning of the 90s. But you never know when some key changes will be made and how those changes will ripple across the timeline. This was a long episode, so I felt best to break it up into 2 parts. Let me know in the comments if you like the 2-part format or if you prefer just one longer episode. That wraps it up for this episode. Until next time, elevate your grind, game, yourself, and each other. Peace.